Now to an out-of-this-world phenomenon.
Hey, man. Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast, dude.
Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast.
Hey!
That was a good fade.
I love it, man. That was excellent.
I do like the new music. Hey, we got a great show for you today. We have our regular group of idiots. We have Mike Grief.
Group of idiots, man. I like that. I like the way this. No, we are the Long Island Clown College. Group of idiots, that's the guys next door.
And then Mike is actually the dean of the Clown College.
That's right.
And then we have the highest paid guy on the show, Craig Mitchell.
I prefer, if we're going to be referred to as a group, as being called a murder of idiots. Thank you.
A murder. I like that. A murder.
And my name is John Ferrantino, and we are here. You can catch us anywhere you catch your podcasts, or you can catch us on Podcast Playground. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on Facebook.
You can catch us on your mama's
anywhere.
podcast.
You can catch us peeping in your sister's window. All right, here we go. Let's go.
That wouldn't
we got
be
a
me.
great. We have got a great show for you today, and 4th of July is right around the corner, so we're gonna talk about 4th of July and stupid crap we did when we were kids and adults. But before that, we have a great co-host on today. There's a guy that I've known for a long time. He's funny. He's from Boston. He's Boston. The fact that he is a Patriots fan, we got to hold that against him.
No.
But, this year will be different. And, but he's a great guy. He's a really good friend. We've known each other a long time. And we have a little clip of Joe Yannetty.
I miss my Uncle Cheesy. When I was a kid, he used to scare the hell out of me. He used to tell me he was a hitman. He'd tell me, hey! He had a motto. I never killed nobody, wasn't gonna die anyway. But he'd sit around at family gatherings. He'd cheer me up, tell me stories. Hey, Joey! Hey, what are you crying for? Hey, come over here. Come here. Come here. What are you crying for? Stop crying. Come on. All right, look, you stop crying. Look at that watch. You like that? That's a good watch. You stop crying, I'll give you the watch. That was quick, you little rat. Go ahead, take it. Go ahead, put it on. Look at that. That's a good watch. You like that? Got that off a dead guy. Oh, what are you crying for? I'm only kidding. He wasn't dead yet. He was shaking like that, though.
I knew I liked this one.
Joe Yannetty.
Hello.
Hi, Joe. That was great.
He's shaking like that, though.
He wasn't dead yet. I like that. That was fun.
That's Mike's alter ego.
Oh.
Mike has a small erection now.
Yeah, Mike's like, that's what I want to. Mike's like, that's what I want to be with my grandkids.
That's it.
So, Joe, let's just get a couple questions out of the way really quick before we end up just going where this ever goes, which we never know. You're originally from Boston.
East Boston. It's very. You got to make that distinction.
Is there really a difference?
Isn't that Cambridge? Isn't that East Boston?
No, go fuck yourself, Cambridge. What are you kidding me? Fucking Cambridge.
East
All right,
Boston.
what
They
other
act like it's a
famous-
real city. Yeah, it's East Boston.
What other famous comedians came from East Boston?
Me. Just me. I'm trying to think if anyone famous was from there, but I don't think so. The next town over, Revere, Madeline Kahn was from Revere.
Oh, Madeline.
Very
What about
similar.
Leary and all those guys? Where's Leary and Lenny Clark and all those guys from?
Yeah.
Lenny Clark is actually from Cambridge.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, Lenny used to go in the middle of the night. They'd be shit-faced, and they'd go down to Julia Child's house and throw shit at her house. They'd come out and cook us breakfast, bitch.
Fine cook, bitch.
But the first time I ever performed in Boston Lenny Clark comes up to me and goes, "Hi, Lenny Clark. I'm the only guy you need to know in this town."
And he was telling the truth. He was telling the truth.
Lenny Clark from Cambridge. Like that means his whole accent's made up. He actually talks like this. Yes, I'm Lenny.
Oh no, they terrified fucking Cambridge. I never knew there was a bad section of Cambridge, and it was wherever Lenny was.
You bring
Where was
Stephen
Stephen Wright from?
Stephen Wright.
From
I don't
fucking
know what
Mars.
hometown. I think he grew up in the suburbs somewhere, but he's a great guy.
He's from Mars.
I remember
Yeah.
I did a guest spot at the Comedy Connection there, like in the early '90s.
Yeah.
I was destroying until I said I was from New York. And then
Fuck yeah.
Oh, dude, at that point, like beer bottles, knives, guns, machine guns, everything. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't let me in Boston. I had too many warrants. But I used to work for a scaffold company. I used to have to drive to Lynn every now and then and pick up ladders and shit at Lynn Ladder, which is
I stayed in Lynn.
You could be the scaffolding.
That's it. 2 inches tall.
You know, my dad was a carpenter. He never used fucking scaffolding. He would make staging out of 2x4s and strapping. And one time, my dad made a living turning people's back porches into living rooms.
He's got to be Italian.
Oh, of course. Eddie Yannetty. My dad's name was Eddie
Like John's
Yannetty.
dad. You fucking
Eddie
they
Yannetty, I
build their
love
own
that.
entrances.
That would look great on a business card, man.
Yeah, Eddie Yannetty. And so my brother working with my dad is on the second floor, and my dad's on the third floor. And my brother sees my dad shoot by him. He fell off the fucking third floor. And he lands, and there's a woman, you know, all the houses are back to back, and a woman sees my dad fall, and she pours a shot of whiskey and runs over. My brother runs down. He thinks my dad's dead. My dad goes, he doesn't move. He goes, just call an ambulance. And my brother turns to run to go in the house to use the phone, and my dad goes, wait a minute. And he gets up and he goes, I'm okay.
I'm okay.
He goes, he had a steel toolbox. He goes, the toolbox broke my fall. To this day,
Jesus.
I have no fucking idea what that means. If you fall on a steel toolbox,
He
you
only
don't get
wrenched.
hurt.
He wrenched his back. That was it. He wrenched his
Yeah,
toolbox.
right. The woman.
All right,
You yelling at me
Oh.
for puns. Come
all
on.
right. I got
I
the pun.
can't believe you made a pun.
Fucking A.
The
They
woman
yell
runs
at
over.
me when I make puns, and look at this stuff.
The woman runs over and hands my dad the shot. My dad goes, no, I'm good. And the woman shoots the fucking whiskey.
Thanks for the funny story of your dad almost dying, Joe. Thank you.
Hey,
Wait.
hey.
I have a story about my dad. My dad, being Italian, once the fall came, he burned everything in the backyard. He had to have a bonfire. Once the pool came down, that big circle with the sand in it was like his own bonfire pit.
So wait, I'm curious though. Boston Italian. So is it sauce or gravy? Because in New York, if you say
Gravy.
gravy, just like
Gravy.
New York, same
Gravy.
thing. Huh?
So
Gravy.
my father's burning everything from the basement in the middle of this pit, right? And he can't get it to go up. So he goes and he gets a styrofoam cup of gasoline and he walks out there. By the time he gets to the fire pit, the gasoline has eaten through the cup and down the leg of his pants. It's cold. My mother's in there making coffee. He throws a match on the thing. It goes right up the leg of his pants. My mother goes, oh my God, Joe. She runs out and throws a pot of boiling coffee on his leg to put it out. And to the day he died, he goes, I got nothing from the fire. It was that freaking coffee.
Come on, John. Was he on a little too much of the anisette?
You know, my brother burned himself up. He was working at a gas station, and this is in the 70s, and the fucking automatic shutoff wouldn't work, and it blew back gas on his pants. You know, so he was probably stoned. I don't know, but he sees a thread on his pants, so he takes out his lighter to burn the thread down.
Nice.
And he
It's like a fuse. It's like a fuse.
He ignites himself. He burns. He goes home, changes his clothes because he come back to work. He had fucking burns all the way down the back of his legs, his stomach, and he was in the hospital for the entire summer. He couldn't go out of the house. He was really fucked up.
Wow.
Well, that's called pulling
Seriously.
Jay Leno today.
Who among us hasn't been on fire at some point? I mean, we were talking about the 4th of
You're on
July.
fire now.
Okay, there you go. The 4th of
You're
July.
on
you're talking
fire
about
and Craig
talking
is
about
flaming.
the 4th of July. Oh, that fucking fucking.
Come on, that was good.
It's not flaming.
If people who are listening can't see this,
He's
but Mike's
flowering.
background is hell.
Yeah,
It's the
it's
fire,
hell.
and my background is a pride parade. There we go. Thank you.
There we go. There we go. So we got 4th of July weekend coming. Wait, Joe, you talked about your uncle. Was he really like that in real life?
Well, that's based on different things, and that part about the watch is based on my Uncle Frank. My Uncle Frank was one of 2 Irish uncles, and he was a cop, surprisingly. And whenever I'd go to his house, he had a drawer filled with watches, and he'd give me a watch, and he'd always say, I got that off a dead guy. And I always, even when I was a kid, I was like, he's just fucking with me. So I did that routine on TV, and I'm sitting on the sofa with my Uncle Frank, and he had watched it. You know, I was on, wasn't on while we were sitting there. It was on before that. And he goes, I really used to get those watches off of dead people. I go, yeah, okay. And he goes, no, when we went to a death and the person had no relatives, we knew that the coroner was going to steal everything. So we would take whatever we wanted. I like watches, so I would always take the people's watches.
Your uncle was covering for because how could he know when he gets to the guy's house he got no fucking relatives? They saw a nice watch and he was like, fuck it. I'm taking the watch.
I'm curious, was it a Rolex? That would be awesome.
No, he never gave me a Rolex, but every time I went there, he gave me a fucking. This is how.
Cop. Go ahead.
This is how crazy my Aunt Mary. My Aunt Mary, my father's sister, she was the greatest lady, and she was so sweet. And my Uncle Frank was such a dick. We're all at the house waiting for Uncle Frank to come home. We're going to surprise him for his 50th birthday. And we're all there. He walks in the door, surprise. And my uncle goes, Jesus Christ, May, there's people dropping dead left and right, and you're having a fucking party. And he left. And he never came back. What?
Oh man, every cop I ever knew had fucking great jewelry, great. Oh, they had fucking, they did the best. Cops always had the best drugs because they had your drugs. They'd take I had a friend, Louis, was a cop in Harlem, and then this guy would come home at night, and we would split up everything he took off of the kids that day. Man, we all their coke, all their whatever. This that shit never got turned in.
Which brings me into my 4th of July story.
Hey, all right.
So when I was a kid,
John, I think I have some music for this. Hold on, let's see if this is.
4th of July, John story.
What do you think?
Wow.
Oh, this is what he wanted to play in the beginning.
You hear it?
No, thank God.
It's too low. What do you mean? Thank God, it's good music. Hold on.
Yeah, sounds great. I can't hear nothing. No,
That's
we
great.
don't hear it. John, tell your story.
So anyway, when we were kids, like fireworks were like, you're obsessed with fireworks. And in New York, they were really illegal. So you always had to find an aunt or an uncle that was going to Florida, and you had to bribe them to bring you back fireworks. Because like a mat of firecrackers, like you could buy a mat of firecrackers when I was a kid, which is like 80 packs for like $6 in a fireworks store.
Yeah.
Fireworks were like $1. Firecrackers were like $2.50 a pack or $2 a pack.
You're talking about all those shops you drive. Remember you drive down to
Florida?
Yeah. It was sign.
Yeah,
come and
everywhere.
see Pedro. Come and see Pedro.
That's why Florida. That's why Florida is now. But anyway, right now you can go to Walmart and you can buy fireworks at 4th of July in Florida.
And a gun.
But anyway, so we convinced my aunt, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to give you fireworks. Oh, they're too dangerous. If you get hurt." We go, look, we don't want a lot. We want some bottle rockets. We want some firecrackers. We want a couple of Roman candles. That's it. And, and she goes, all right. So she brings us back this shitload of fireworks, right? And she goes, this is for your birthdays. And we were like, oh, this is so great. My birthday is June 9th. His was the 29th. We are so excited. But we got this like in November. Right? How's the fireworks doing? Like every month. Yeah, we're dying to shoot them off. We get to his house in Southampton. I shoot one bottle rocket off. Cop pulls into my aunt's house and takes the entire bag. We were like 13. I think I was 13 and he was I'm even 14 and I think he was like 10. I look over and he's like, they took our fireworks. I was like, yeah. Dick. I go, and he went home and gave them to his kids.
Yeah. Well, I got a lot of freaking 4th of July. This one, when you talk about taking it, we were in the park. I grew up in the housing projects, in the Ravenswood housing projects in Queens. So we had the housing authority cops, and these guys were whatever. They were assholes back then. But what we did is, we couldn't afford fireworks. So we used to take steel wool, put it on a string, tie it up, and you light it on fire. You swing it around. And I just remember swinging it around, and all of a sudden I look over and I see a cop, and he's got his gun out pointing at me. I'm like 13 years old. He's pointing his gun at me, and he goes, "Put it down, drop it." And then he looks at the crowd of us and he goes, "Disperse." And I look at him, I go, "What the fuck does that mean? Disperse?" I'm 13. And even at 13, I was 6 foot tall. I was 250 pounds, and my brother's standing next to me, and I go and I ball my fist because I'm just gonna fucking hit this cop. And my brother just grabbed my arm. He goes, "Nah." But anyway, they arrest me. They take me to the
Mikey Disperse. That'll be your new name.
They take me to the housing fucking police jail for failure to disperse. And my father, is just insane. He goes down there and he's screaming at these cops and he's calling them, "You piece of shit, you fucking coward. Why don't you go after the real fucking criminal?" I'm like, "Dad, you want to relax, maybe. You want to get me out, not join me in here, just." Oh,
I was at a barbecue at this woman's house. There was a friend of a family, and
we're supposed to believe that, Craig.
Okay, I was all alone in my backyard with having a barbecue. I'm making hot dogs and stuff. And we're barbecuing, and we had some firecrackers and sparklers. That's all we had. Pop, yay! And all of a sudden, next door, the guy goes, "When it gets dark, you're not gonna believe what we have over here." He's like talking, and we were looking forward to it, right? And so we're doing all that stuff, and all of a sudden we hear, boom, right? This huge, right? And we're like, "Whoa!" We run over to the fence, and we said that was great. And we see him running, and his barbecue, his gas thing explode.
He was right. You couldn't believe it, right? It was funny as hell.
He's just running into the house to call 911.
That's hysterical.
Oh man, I hung a guy off of the Roosevelt Island Bridge because this was another year. We're walking over the road. We used to hang out and drink on Roosevelt Island.
Mike knows how to party, man.
And so we're drinking. We're walking over the bridge and shit. And we're throwing fireworks. And one of my friends kept throwing fireworks near my feet. And then he kept jumping on my back, and I kept telling him, "Don't jump on whatever."
Back.
I'm drinking. Finally, I said, "Listen, you do it one more time, I'm going to throw you off the bridge." And I don't know if you know the Roosevelt Island
As
Bridge,
one would,
but it's a long.
Greg loves when people jump on his back.
It's a long way down. So he goes, "No, I promise." So we're walking, and he does it again, and I grab him, and I hang him over one arm, and I hang him over the side of the bridge. And he's begging, he's crying, begging, "Pull me back, pull me back." I pull him back. And I said, "Are you going to do it?" He's promised. And 5 minutes later, he's on my back again. But he ran like
5 minutes later, he's on my back again.
He ran to Roosevelt Island.
Is that the guy you put the firecrackers down his back?
I got him later on. Yeah. When we were drinking, we're hanging out. So I came up behind him and I opened his shirt and I threw a pack of firecrackers down his shirt.
No.
Yes.
I guarantee he still has scars. I guarantee.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, just
inside and outside.
That reminds me of the movie The Heat. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Heat with Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
At one point, she's hanging the guy off the balcony, and then he gives her the information, and Sandra Bullock's like, "Okay, pull him back in." She's like, I can't. And she drops him onto a car.
Well, that's a famous scene in Analyze This, where he holds him over and he goes, "Okay, you can pull him back." And he lets him go. And he goes, "Sometimes I forget."
I read with Harold Ramis for the part of Jelly. I read for the part of Jelly with Harold Ramis, which was, that was you walk in the room and there's Harold Ramis. You talk about you're not going to be thrown off your game,
Yeah. I read for the part of Jam.
He is a handsome guy.
Oh, Jam?
No, Ramis.
Ramis was a genius. You know what I mean? He was.
He is. I freaked out when I read for Christopher Columbus. Man,
what, to get on one of the ships?
Explorer, the director.
Chris Columbus.
When I was young, we used to, and they still do it. Used to go down the Charles River for 4th of July because the Boston Pops played at the Esplanade, and then huge fireworks. And I remember when I was a kid going down there, my brother's boat, and my dad, and you know what a pulpit is. The thing in the front on the bow of a boat to go out with a harpoon or whatever.
Right.
And when I got older and I used to do it on my boat, I would tell everybody.
Because while you were growing up, you did a lot of harpooning.
No. It wasn't our boat. The guy behind us in the locks. Okay. And you're talking about your dad saying shit and yelling at cops and stuff, but my father would fucking threaten people. Anyway, so my brother's going up the ladder of our boat, and this fucking idiot in the locks doesn't, he thinks his boat stops like a car, and the fucking pulpit comes over the boat, and he hits my brother in the back with his pulpit while he's going up the ladder. My father went fucking nuts and was gonna kill this fucking guy because everybody is shit-faced. Yeah. And 98% of people who have a boat have no fucking idea how to run a boat. Yeah. And then they get drunk, and there's 10,000 fucking boats going through 2 sets of locks. And every year, all the idiots I grew up with, come on, we're gonna go down to Charles, and they're the greatest fireworks in the world. And people they close the locks at 5 o'clock. They never close the fucking locks ever. and they, no, we're not gonna go. And I used to go once I had my own boat. I used to go down there. It's fucking awesome. The fireworks were so big, your boat would be covered in soot at the end. And could hear the pops.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
Go ahead, John. You first.
I said it's so funny how so many people that have boats know nothing about boats. That's always like when they have those Trump boat parades. Half of them sink.
They
sink, they hit each other. They
half the people.
One of the best shows on earth.
You know why, John? It's because they nail the fucking bumper stickers onto the boat. They nail them.
half the people who own submersibles don't know how to operate submersibles either. I'm sorry, I had to.
Oh God!
I went there.
On.
Joe, I have a question for you though.
I have a
question for you. What's bigger, first night or 4th of July up in Boston? I mean,
4th of July.
Really?
4th of July.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Boston was the first city in the country to do first night.
Yeah.
What is first night? See, now I'm going to sound stupid. I don't even know.
I know what it is either.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Yeah. Makes sense now.
Because in Boston, first night is all over the city, and then they have fireworks. But 4th of July is the Boston Pops. They always have big stars come and sing with them and play with them. My favorite part of the whole thing is when they do the 1812 overture, they're really firing fucking howitzer canyons.
Really?
I mean, cannons.
Wow, that must be awesome.
And as part of the music. And when you're out on the water and you see the flash coming out of the fucking barrel of those cannons, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Do they sink any boats? That'd be cool. No.
Oh man, some of them sink on their own. They're so fucking dumb. I thought people on the ocean were stupid until I moved to a lake in New Hampshire. They're the biggest fucking idiots. They know nothing. They can't put a boat. I have an 18-foot boat, and I put it in and out of the water by myself. Yeah. These people think I'm a fucking wizard. It's
I had a 15-footer in a lake, only on lakes. Yeah, and you know what? Here in California, most of the fucking boats that sink, you know why they sink? They forgot to put the plug in the fucking boat.
Oh, yeah. Well, you want to see something really funny? You go to YouTube, and there's a channel called A Day at the Boat Ramp.
Oh, it's the best show on earth.
Funniest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah.
These people, they don't put they hook the trailer
I'll drive up.
And they forget to hook. They forget to put the truck in park, and it rolls down into the water and disappears, or the boat comes off the trailer and they try to hang on to it.
But you know what though?
Into the water. When
that happens, it's like the New Yorker in me comes out all the time. You see a guy, his whole fucking boat and his truck sinks, and all I'm thinking is, motherfucker, now it's going to take me 2 hours to get my boat on the water.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, always. Always.
My buddy Lenny, he bought the, I grew up at a yacht club, and not like a yacht club. It was a bunch of carpenters, plumbers, electricians. None of their boats fucking worked. And my buddy Lenny bought this. It was like a lake boat, like a houseboat that was really long and narrow. And the crane comes, they're putting everybody's boats in the water, and they drop his boat in the water, and he puts it in forward and punches it, and the fucking boat goes backwards and smashes into the fucking yacht club. Then he gets away from there. He goes out into the middle of the bay. The fucking boat breaks down. He tells his buddy, go up on the bow and throw the anchor. And he just picks the anchor up and throws it off the fucking boat. There's no anchor line. His anchor, the chain, everything right in the fucking water. That's gone.
I have. Oh, go ahead.
He decided to put a parquet floor in his fucking boat. And we're all up at the yacht club. It's the middle of the night. And you hear a jigsaw. And he's cutting the floor of the boat. And you hear, and all the fucking lights go out. He cut through all the fucking wires in the fucking boat.
Oh, fuck. First
of
all, if any wood you're going to use, you use fucking teak on a boat. You don't use fucking hardwood floor.
I have a friend of mine that sailed in the 87 America Cup, and he's a captain. So after that was over, he got a job in St. Martin running these charter boats. I mean, barefoot cruises.
They raced, yeah.
No, but he ran this company that did barefoot cruises. So after these people get these barefoot cruise licenses like on a weekend. They don't know anything. So after they take the boat out for 24 hours, it's his job to call to find out if they're having any problem with the boat. He says he calls this guy once, and the guy goes, yeah, no, everything's running great with the boat. I got enough food. Everything is great. Everything's working great. I just need more anchors. I ran out of anchors. He goes, you what? He goes, I ran out of anchors. He goes, there was 3 anchors on the boat. He goes, yeah, I used them up.
He goes,
what do you mean you used them up?
He cut them off when he was fucking
he
done,
couldn't
right?
get them up because they go on the coral. He just let them go.
The lake.
Yeah, he just thought that was. Wait, there's one other thing too. So he says this guy calls him up and goes, Mayday, I'm caught in a magnetic anomaly. And my friend goes, what? He goes, I'm in a magnetic anomaly.
Was he in Star Trek?
He goes, what are you talking about? He says, I got the boat in full speed forward and I'm just going around in a circle. He goes, I'm stuck I'm stuck in a magnetic anomaly.
Yeah.
He says, listen. He goes, put the boat in neutral, and I need you to walk to the front of the boat. Is there a rope going from the front of the boat into the water? And he goes, because your anchor could be down. And the guy comes back and goes, Mayday over. I've been released from the magnetic anomaly.
The lake, I don't even know if I live there anymore, but I do this in my act where this really happens. I'm wondering how I can tell this without, because if the guy who does this listens to this. So I'll ask the audience, is there anybody here who has never anchored a boat? And I find someone who's never anchored a boat. I go, now you've never ever anchored a boat. And they go, yes. And I go, now, if you were going to anchor a boat, would you think the first move would be to have your wife go up to the bow, pick up the anchor, and jump in the water with it?
Yes. Yes, that would be my first fucking thought.
This guy, he makes his wife, because we're anchoring in like 4 feet of water.
Make sure some of the ropes around her fucking ankles too.
Wait, listen to this. I was on the Norwegian, the SS Norway, right? They just came out of dry dock.
I never
so
got
we're
to
on the
work
ship. We're on the ship, and we go to the private island, right? And then it's a beautiful day. It is 85 degrees. The water looks like black. That's how calm it is. So my cabin's in the front of the boat, and I hear they're going. You hear like ching 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 when they drop the anchor. You know that noise, ching 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 ching, and then it just stops. And then I go, what the fuck? It just didn't sound right. And then all of a sudden they let the back one out, ching 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 ching, and it just stops. And then the boat starts moving again, right? So find out that the boat came out of dry dock and they never hooked the anchors.
Oh,
The chain just fell right through.
Yeah, they just went into the water, and those anchors are about $150,000.
No, trust me, they salvage those.
Oh yeah. So all of a sudden, the captain comes over and goes, "This is the captain speaking. I just want to say that due to inclement weather, well, it is beautiful. We will not be going to the private island today. Instead, we will be doing a Liars Club."
Will Mr. Ferrantino please come to the lounge?
Right. So I go out. So it's me up first. And Joe will tell you, the Liars Club, I would have like 1,000 definitions to these. Liars Club is like the game Boulder Dash, where they give you a word and you lie about it. And then the audience votes on who they think is telling the truth. So this cruise director is this guy, Danny Anderson from New York. And he goes, the first word is blenophobia. We go to John Ferrantino and I go, blenophobia is a Norwegian word that it's a phobia that you'll find out that your passengers will find out you don't really own a private island. And he puts he's on stage, he puts the paper up against his face, he turns to me and goes, fuck you.
One of the worst things I did, I was on a ship doing Liars Club. And the guy who was the art director, right? And, they have art auctions and, they sell the shit for way more than what it's really worth. And this was on Norwegian Cruise Line. And the art director fancied himself a fucking comedian. So he used to put on one of those hats that has fake hair.
Right.
So he looked like a redneck. And he was from Kentucky or something. So one of the words, he goes, I can't remember what the word was, but he goes, and he didn't have an accent. He was pretending. And he goes, it's when you go to the cupboard and you open the cupboard door and you look and there's nothing there. And then 5 minutes later, you go look in the cupboard and there's still nothing there. And I said, oh, you mean like real artwork on a cruise ship? he got so fucking mad. He got so mad. I found out he had just lost like $100,000 sale because the guy looked it up.
I did the same thing on our trip. I go like this. I walk out at Liars Club and I go, first, before we start the show tonight, I'd like to say that the guys in the art department, if you bought a piece of art, there's been a slight mix-up. If you can give us the number of the print that you bought, because they're having a little trouble and they need to print a bunch more of them. And I got called in. They told me that they lost all these sales and everything.
They were fucking ripping people off.
So I'm guessing that was a thing on ships. I have no idea.
They have an art gallery. And in the beginning, I mean, I made some money on some pieces of art that I bought there in the beginning. There was a guy that used to be, it was real legitimate in the beginning. I'm not saying it's not legitimate, but it's like, it could be an artist proof, or it could be like, it's a lot of lithographs. So people don't know, they go, oh, this original artist proof sold for $1,500. Now
lithographs are still worth money if they're numbered.
Yeah, no, but you got lithograph number 295.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And they get worse as they go, But
and some of them are newer art. Like there's this guy Chubba Marcus. I love his artwork, but they'll take like a print, but then he'll embellish the print. Right. So it's genuinely like,
so it really
unique.
Is like art. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, Da Vinci used to do a lot of lithographs.
This is not related, but do you remember back in the 80s, the early 80s, there was this artist who got on all the talk shows, and he was known for really quickly doing a picture. I mean, literally.
Was Bob Ross? That guy, Bob Ross?
It wasn't Bob Ross.
No, it was another guy. I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Well, I was on a TV show with him, right? And of course, he had the host there. He goes, so what do you want me to draw? He goes, I don't know, a woman in the park, blah, blah, blah. And he's freaking amazing. It looks beautiful, right? And his segment ends. We go on, we do our comedy. I was in the comedy team at the time. At the end of the night, or end of the show, they're wrapping up the show, and I'm putting on my coat, and I do this, and my whole sleeve just wiped half the painting out. And I have paint all over my arm. And my partner goes, he goes, take your coat off, turn it inside out, don't you? And the person comes over,
so funny,
looks at the painting, goes, this is wonderful. And she left it. And to this day, she doesn't realize that I smeared half of the painting.
There was, when I used to do colleges, there was this guy, and he looked like the character from the first video game.
Mario?
Mario.
He's a
He looked like
Mario.
Mario.
But he had
Mario.
long hair. He had long hair, and so he would
That's
say to
Luigi.
the college. He would say to the college,
Frankie Pace is who it was.
I need like these 8x10 canvases. I need 4 of them. And afterwards, no matter what you pay me, you'll be able to sell them. And the canvas would be upside down. He'd come out to like Jimi Hendrix music. And he would just take like handfuls of paint and just throw it at the canvas. And then he'd take a brush and go all over it, And then he had like a squirt gun and he'd be shooting paint all over. And you're looking at this thing going, what the hell is going on? And the music's playing. And then all of a sudden he goes, now. And the canvas turns over. And it's a perfect picture of Jimi Hendrix.
Wow.
And the crowd goes,
I've seen that guy do that. It's amazing.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And then they sell
It's
the
on YouTube.
artwork. Yeah. Is he on YouTube? Probably, yeah. But it's incredible when you see it live. I mean, because you watch this going, what the hell is this guy doing? And it's amazing.
I remember when I was a kid, you go down to Washington Square Park and they'd have these big things, and I don't know how originally are, but it was like they'd spin and guys would shoot paint onto the paper and it was spinning.
Oh
And
yeah,
they would make
yeah.
all these beautiful
and then they
art
jump on your
pictures.
back, right?
Yeah,
And you put firecrackers in their
and I
mouth.
blow them up.
So I was in Washington. This is pretty interesting. I was in Washington Park 2 weeks ago with my daughter, and I've been there. I haven't been there since
Did
the
you get
60s.
raped, John?
I haven't been there since the 60s,
Did you get what?
where everybody smoked pot in Washington Park, and it wasn't legal then. So you can imagine now that it's legal.
You get a ticket for not smoking part.
Well,
in
that's
Washington
my
Square
point.
Park.
This girl was sitting there and she took a beer out of a lunch bag and 3 cops came running over.
Yeah, I mean, come on, what kind of control is that? You fucking
They go,
alcoholic. Get out of here.
everybody's smoking pot. This
Smoke
girl
a
had
joint like
Yeah,
everyone
well,
else.
They were conservative cops, and it was a Bud Light. So come on.
John, you got to see on the ship now. Like I haven't worked the ship in a long time, like 4 years, and I just
Right.
went back. And dude, the fucking elevator doors open, and there's a dude just standing there, like staring into the elevator because he's so fucking high that he got, like every day. It's like, get in. You want to hear a funny story? I was working with Rosie O'Donnell at Caesar's Palace. We actually replaced George Burns on his 100th birthday because he got hurt.
Oh,
But they had a
Got
big
hurt
time.
taking a leak, trying to lift his dick.
Yeah,
He was-
What?
George Burns. He was 100 years old.
yeah. And okay.
Sorry.
wow, that's
Guys
not
so-
that
from
story.
Boston.
So-
Sorry.
So there was big. It was WWE or WWF in the big, stadium behind Caesars. So I'm going up to my room, and the elevator door opens. There's a husband and wife with a kid next to me waiting for the elevator. The elevator door opens, and Randy Savage is on the elevator.
Oh yeah.
And I put my hand out to hold the elevator door open to let the lady and the baby go in the elevator. And they won't get in the elevator because Randy said they don't know what to do. And Randy Savage goes, "Hey, man, get in or get out. Either way, I don't care." And I fucking laughed for 10 minutes. So I was like, so I get in the elevator and I go, "Hey, man, I just saw that show. That's one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life." I said, "I'm here opening for Rosie O'Donnell." He goes, "Oh, you're so cute." And I couldn't stop fucking laughing. I'm like, this dude really talks like that.
Who was the wrestler? I can't think of his name that wore the kilt.
Oh, that was Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
That was
like
Roddy
Roddy.
Piper.
I was doing Comic Strip Live, and Rowdy came with me to the show with Rory. And, I knew him a little bit personally. That guy was like walking into a place with John Lennon. People
Yeah.
loved him.
He
I mean, I
was
couldn't
course.
believe that. When he got out of the car to walk in the ping, people online were going, "Rowdy!" And they were just going insane.
Well, they
They're
did
the
the same thing
greatest
for Macho.
people.
They did the same thing for Macho Man too, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Macho Man got
Yeah.
huge.
I was at the time, this guy, they call him, what do they call him now? The Big Unit or something. And,
the Big Show. The Big Show.
The Big Show. So at the
That's
time,
a little bit. That's a little bit better than the big unit.
The big unit.
yeah,
No, that's
Hey,
Randy
I'm a
Johnson.
big
That's
unit.
Randy Johnson. Is the
I'm
big
the
unit.
big
at the time, his thing was he was like Andre the Giant's illegitimate son or something, right?
I can't.
So I go to shake his hand, and I couldn't even bend my fingers. Like my whole hand fit in the palm of his hand. And I go, where the fuck do you buy gloves, man? And he goes, I just cut open a couple of raccoons and stick my hands
There
in.
you go.
And he goes, you know what the sad thing is? I got a really small dick. All my friends tell her, fuck her with your thumb, man. You're gonna ruin your image.
They years ago, Rory Rosegarden, who managed me, and Ray Romano and a whole bunch of people. He got involved with some wrestlers, and he did their toy deal. He did Lou Albano and Sergeant Slaughter. So Sergeant Slaughter says to Rory, "Have you ever been to a wrestling match?" And Rory's like, "No." And he goes, "Well, then you come with me to WrestleMania at the Garden." So Rory's like, "Okay." So Rory lives in this really like affluent part of Great Neck, and he says, "I'll pick you up." So all of a sudden he says, Rory goes, "I'm in this neighborhood." All of a sudden this camouflage limo pulls up with him hanging out of the top, and it's honking the horns going like in a billion decibels. So Rory's like, "Oh my God, just stop." And he's waving a flag out.
Sergeant Slaughter.
And then so he gets in the limo and they get to the Garden. Rory goes, "I had no idea like how crazy busy this is." So they pull in and he gets out, and Rory's got like glasses and he's this little skinny guy. And he gets out, and all of a sudden the whole crowd starts yelling, "Who's that guy with you, Sarge?" And he goes, "That's my manager." He goes, "What's his name?" And he goes, "Ridiculous Ricky Rose." And they're all going, and Rory goes, and with that, the whole crowd starts going, Ricky.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Sorry, Richie Minervini actually had me write comedy for Luscious Johnny Valiant when he wanted to do stand-up. So he said, "Oh, Craig Mitchell can help you write." And I wrote stuff for him, but he just refused. He would get on stage.
Now we know why he didn't make it. Oh, hey.
Yeah. Well, what happened was he wouldn't do it. He'd fall back into his persona all the time, But, it was really interesting. He took me backstage to some shows. And I don't know if you guys remember this. I think Joe has a shot at remembering this. Do you remember back in the 70s they had Ivan Putski?
Yes, I remember Ivan Putski.
Okay, Ivan Putski, Polish power.
He used to blow up a water bottle and make it explode.
So he goes, have you ever met, and he said a different name, like Peter or John. I go, no. And he takes me over. Oh, it's Ivan Putski.
Ivan Putski.
Right. And I'm ready for go. "Oh, it's good to see you, me, Ivan Putski. Here, have kielbasa." That's what I thought was going to happen. And he's like, "How you doing, partner? It's good to see you." Oh, he's totally from Texas. I'm like, what?
Chief J. Strongbow was Italian. I knew a chick that used to hang out with all the wrestlers. Chief J. Strong was Italian. She said Andre the Giant, he used to put his hand on her head and it would cover like her whole head and her face. You could see that picture, like he'd have a beer can and the beer can would come up not even to half of his hand.
He made the Big Show look small.
Do you guys remember? You're probably not old enough, any of you. Do you guys, when I was a kid, the big wrestling guy.
Okay, Corral.
This is like in the 1800s. Yeah.
Gorgeous George.
Haystack Calhoun.
Haystack
Calhoun. Yeah, he wore the overalls.
601 pounds of the country boy. Haystack Calhoun.
And he wore a horseshoe around his neck, like on a chain.
Yeah. 600 pounds. Yeah.
So I'm glad we stayed on the 4th of July feast.
Gorilla Monsoon, my favorite. Gorilla Monsoons.
Gorilla, who went on to be an announcer.
That's my favorite thing was he's got a foreign object. He's got a foreign object.
Oh, he's busted wide open.
You would go from foreign objects, which might be a little metal thing, and then all of a sudden in the 80s it was chairs, tables, a small.
Well, it was that guy.
What was used to keep razor blades in their tape on their hands, and they'd cut their heads open. I just love it. He's busted wide open.
I sat with Sarge Slaughter and
so your buddy
Lou Albano at Rory's wedding,
Right.
And we got into the discussion with some people about how wrestling is fake.
And don't do
so
that.
Anyway, but this is what they said, which was pretty interesting. They go, yeah, like he goes, if I'm fighting Lou Albano, He goes, it's a cakewalk. We're both professionals. We know how to throw each other. We know how to fall. He goes, the problem is that these new wrestlers that come in, they want to cut you because if they get you bloody, they're on the cover of the next wrestling magazine.
Oh, shit.
He goes, so you have to be really careful. You know, he goes, and that's when it gets dangerous, you know?
Well, that's when
Yeah,
the old
they're
people
like
should have got
fucking
together and told
acrobats.
these newcomers, if you do that, we're going to fucking beat the liver. They should have just, beat the hell out of them.
Well, there was
when
Captain Llewellyn, something in the medulla oblongata, George Steele. Remember George the Animal Steele?
Yeah, he used to eat the turnbuckle.
Yeah.
when I did this gig with Rosie, I can't remember this guy's name. He used to do this thing. It was two guys. They were the something twins. So one of me goes, hey, I really want to meet Rosie O'Donnell. Can I come backstage? So I go, Rosie, this guy really wants to meet you. He's one of the wrestlers. They just did a thing in the back. And she goes, just tell him, don't fuck around. I said, okay. So I go, listen, man, I'll bring you backstage, but don't fuck around. You'll get me in trouble. I don't want to lose this job. He goes, okay. And he's a big motherfucker. And we go backstage and there's a security. What's that?
The Road Warriors?
No, they were called the something twins, but he was on his own by then.
No.
I think that might have been it. The Thompson twins. He was one of those guys. So the security guard backstage is like 5'6", and he looks up at this giant motherfucker and jokingly says, I'm going to have to frisk you. And he looks down at the guy, goes, and I'll stick your fucking head up your ass. And I'm like, thanks for not fucking around, you asshole.
Oh man.
All right. Well, listen, I gotta tell. I mean, we gotta tell the famous 4th of July story.
No, it's a great
famous
story.
4th of July. Oh, you mean when you blew Rory's house up?
Yeah. So every
Did
year,
you blow? What?
every year, this agent Joe on Long Island would have a big party for all the comedians and their wives and everything. And I always remember Kevin James used to watch
Tom
my
and
daughter.
Genio was the.
He used to watch my babysit for my daughter. They used to babysit for my daughter, him and his girlfriend.
Omnipop, right?
Yeah. So he had this big house. I think it was his family's house, had a built-in pool, and it was in a really nice neighborhood. And his wife Jerry is a sweetheart. And she goes, guess what I bought in the city? I bought some fireworks. And she had 2 shopping bags of fireworks. So she goes to Richie and Minervini and I, why don't you go through and see if there's anything good? We reach inside and there is a thing literally the size of a coconut before it's shelled, right? Like with about a 10-foot fuse on it that says professional grade A firework. Misuse of this product can cause serious death.
Richie
go,
as opposed to unserious death.
John, as opposed to funny death.
Serious injury
Mild
or death.
death.
I'm sorry. No, serious injury
I
or
got a
death.
mild case of death from it. Yeah.
So Minervini goes, oh, we're professionals. We can take care of this. He goes,
Fucking
it's a mortar.
Richie.
It means it's got to go in the ground. So I go, okay. So we find a whole pole digger in the garage and we dig down about 3 feet and we drop this thing into the ground and it's got a fuse on it. The fuse is like, that should be the indication. The fuse is like 6 feet long.
Was
So
it Fat Man or Little Boy?
Depending on how
So
lucky
anyway,
you are, you didn't hit a gas.
So Richie
line
goes,
or
it's getting dark. So meanwhile, there's like, at this point, there's still about 50 people in the backyard with their kids. And they're all like, people are laying on rafts in the pool. Some people are cooking barbecue. And a couple of people playing volleyball. So Richie goes, it'll be a nice thing. We'll just light up the sky.
Yeah.
So we light this thing. We light this thing. And it was the end of Vietnam. All of a sudden, a 3-foot section of his fence is missing. It is gone. We don't know where it is. There is a hole in the ground about 3 feet in diameter. And you know, like when you see a fireworks, those things that squiggle around, they go up in the air. Those are flying all over the backyard. People are running up and grabbing their kids and throwing them down on the ground. And there's fire shooting all over the backyard. And there's people crying, dogs barking. It is the worst situation you've ever seen in your life. And it's like screams, like death-curdling screams. And we can't see anything because there's so much smoke in the backyard. And Richie's like, oh no. I go, it's too late now, Richie. And with that, another group comes out. And it does that 3 times.
You mischievous little weasels.
And then all of a sudden it stops and there's silence. And we sit there and then you start to hear people coughing and babies, kids crying. And the smoke clears. You had to see it, man. It was like the fence was gone, the hole in the ground, kids had black shit on their face, babies crying, women packing up their shit.
What a great
And
I don't think it said mortar. I think it said the mother of all.
It was ridiculous. Richie goes, oh, I think we have to apologize. I go, Richie, it's over. Let's just get to the car and get out of here.
Did you pay for his fence? Did you buy the fucking guy a new
We
fence?
offered him. He said, I'll probably find it. And like I saw him like a year later, he goes, never found it.
Man. I was working in Hartford at the what they call it? The brouhaha. And it was 4th of July. And this guy says, I just want to tell a story about 4th of July. And I think it was the headliner. I can't remember who it was. He goes, when I was a kid, my father had this big store and he had this huge sale. And I was bored because he took me there. I wanted to go out and I wanted to do fireworks. We were in the basement and I'm playing with fireworks and all that, blah, 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 blah. And lo and behold, a cherry bomb blows up and some boxes start to burn. So I blow them out. We go upstairs, then we go out, we go home, whatever. And he goes, then we get a call like at 2 a.m. that my dad's store burned down. No! And I realized I burned down my dad's store. It was terrible. But then I found out, I finally told him I was crying. Then 2 days later, we found out it was electrical wires and it wasn't me. And I'm staring at this guy going, that's the movie Avalon. He goes, yeah, I didn't have a story, so I just used that.
Fucking asshole. Did you ever throw M80s in the toilet? They said that they blow up on the border.
Figuratively, I have, yes.
We used to throw them in the East River and they'd blow up, but I know guys used to.
Yeah, but then all the fish would float to the top.
When I was in high
school, that when we were kids.
Yeah,
that's when I was in high school. It was
the best way to fish.
Were you in high school on the little house on the prairie?
I was in the high school, 1-room schoolhouse. No, I was in the. But when I went to school, they were like.
I remember Ben Franklin taught us about electricity.
You had your little chalkboard you're figuring on.
When I went to school, there were collegians, surfers, and greasers. And the greasers always used to put ash cans down the toilets and flush them.
Yeah.
In the school and blow out the pipes. No, we're talking
about just because
you
mentioned Ben Franklin. He's one of my favorite people in the world. And the French actually proved Ben Franklin right before Ben Franklin knew that his theory was right.
Right. Because
in the United States, you can't just send a fucking guy to get electrocuted. But in France, he invented the lightning rod. And he would send people out, just hold this in the storm, and they'd get fucking killed when they get struck by lightning.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the most incredible historic figures. People don't realize. I mean, all the things that Ben Franklin not only invented, but his politics. I mean, who might not have won the Revolutionary War without Ben Franklin?
I used to hang out with Benny.
There you go.
One of my favorite
Uncle Benny.
One of my favorite stories about Ben Franklin was he owned newspapers, and he had a rival, and they would write things back and forth. So just to sell more papers than the other guy, Ben Franklin wrote that he knew the exact date that the other guy would die, and he strung that out. He strung that out for a while, and then he printed the date that the guy would die. So the date came and went, and the guy wrote an article saying, see, Ben Franklin, basically is an asshole. He didn't know I was going to die. I'm still here. And Franklin wrote in his paper, this article is so poorly written that it proves that he's dead. And so he insults the guy's writing. At the same time, he fucking says that, yeah, of course he's dead.
Nice.
I love Ben Franklin.
You don't want to mess with Ben Franklin, man. You just know.
Okay.
And he's got a hell of a bridge too.
He was a ladies' man too. You see pictures of him, you go, Jesus Christ, how'd this guy? But he would get laid left and right.
One of his famous sayings was, he'd look at a beautiful woman when he was like 80 years old, and say, "Oh my God, to be 70 again."
Yeah. So where's my kite? I want to get it up. I need my kite and
and a
A
key.
kite and a string will get it up.
There
And
you
a
go.
key.
And a key. We must be doing that on time. What are we on time?
I don't know. We're in the ballpark, but I don't know how much more we have. We can go.
Hey, speaking of ballparks, did you see that the Yankee guy pitched a perfect game?
What is Jermaine, right?
Yeah, and I looked up Cy Young was like the first guy ever in the American League to throw a perfect game, and he had like a rival in the World Series when he played. I didn't know he played for it was the Red Sox, but they were Boston Americans or something.
Yeah, Christian.
And this guy challenged him, and I guess he beat Cy Young the first game of the series. But then the next time they played him, Cy Young pitched a perfect game, and the last person up at bat was that guy, the other team's pitcher. And he said, "How do you like that, you hayseed?"
Well, I don't think Mike and John are baseball fans, but a perfect game is extremely rare. As a matter of fact,
So funny.
there's only 24 perfect games in the history of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, and the fucking Yankees have 4 of them.
Yeah,
So funny you mentioned that the baseball.
back-to-back years they had them too.
Just before the
Fucking
show, I just
Yankees.
found a whole collection I have of baseball cards from the 80s.
Oh,
So I want to get an app. I'm going to figure out how much to see if there's any. I mean, there's like hundreds of them in
Are they-
books, in
they're
little,
books, good.
yeah. So I want to see if they're worth anything.
So,
course
well,
they
some
are.
of the rookie cards might be, yeah, for sure.
I'll check out.
See
I
if
know
you
I-
have a Tony Canigliaro card.
Tony
Tony.
Canigliaro. Who do you play for? Because I get they're
Red
arranged
Sox.
by teams.
Oh my God, you don't know who Tony Canigliaro was?
No,
I'm not a big baseball. I used to go to Shea Stadium, take the train when I was a kid, go to Yankee Stadium, but I was back then. But now I haven't watched baseball in years.
But here, I'll tell you. So my
Canigliaro,
father,
man, great player.
my father was best friends with Tony Canigliaro's
Oh
father.
man, Tony C.
And like I knew Tony. I used to go to his house all the time when I was a kid, and so he gave us a bat that he hit a home. This guy got drafted by the Red Sox when he was 18. He hit a home run his first at bat
when he was
in
19.
Fenway
Right?
Park. He gave us a bat with it had one fucking circle on it where he hit the ball out of
Wow.
Fenway Park. And my brother took the fucking bat down the
No.
schoolyard, played on the street, ruined the bat.
Oh, geez.
But I still have it. It has his name
did
on
he
it. And
did he
everything.
play in the 80s?
No,
Because these cards I have
No.
are from the 80s.
No,
60s and
he
70s.
probably-
Okay,
Yeah,
so I
but-
probably don't.
All
have
right,
it.
you ever
He
see the
did-
movie
he
Fever
famously-
Pitch
He famously got beamed and it broke his eye
in the
socket,
eye?
and
Yeah.
he never was the same player really after that.
If you watch the movie Fever Pitch,
Right.
Jimmy Fallon's character has a picture of Tony C on his bureau
He's the best.
with big swollen eye. Tony was. I never knew how famous he was. And when I got my first job as a salesman, I had a watch line, and Tony was a sportscaster out in San Francisco. And I'd hang up, people go, "Who was that?" And I go, Tony Canigliaro. And they're like, "Fuck you."
They would lose it, right?
I go, "It's Tony Canigliaro." They go, "Fuck you. You weren't talking to Tony Canigliaro." And I'd call him back. I go, "Hey, Tony, will you tell my friend who you are?" and I never knew why it was a big deal because he was just a friend of my dad,
Right. Right.
It's like when
Yeah,
I
it's
was
like-
I was a sportscaster in the 90s, and you'll like this story because I was always a fan, but you try to cover it up when you're in the sports, when you're like in the press
Yeah.
box because you don't want people
Yeah.
to get him the freak out of here. And
Yeah.
I'm walking towards wherever I was going, and I passed Dwight Evans, and I go, "Dewey!" I go, "Dewey!" like that, and he kind of looks at me like that. I went, "Oh shit!" I'm
You know,
like-
I was at the Comedy Store one time, and I'm having a conversation with someone. And when you can tell someone's standing behind you and they're listening to everything you're saying?
The store in Los
And-
Angeles.
Yeah. And I look down and I can see someone's feet like really close to me. And I'm going to turn around and go, "What the fuck, dude?" And I turned around and screamed in his face. The only time in my life I've ever been starstruck. And I just screamed, "Rich Wagner!" And I was like, "Oh, fuck, man.
Who
I'm
was
so
it you
sorry."
broke up?
Who was it?
Who was
You
it you
broke
broke up?
What's that?
You broke
You
up.
broke up.
Who
Who was it?
Oh, my God. You didn't hear that. It was Richard Pryor. I
Oh,
just-
Richard Pryor.
Oh shit!
I just screamed in his face, Richard Pryor.
Well, you know,
You
you're a
used to go
sports
down
guy.
and see him at the store. Yeah.
You're a sports guy, and when Eastside Comedy Club, Richie's Club, first opened, is the first year the Islanders came to Long Island. They used to hang out there all the time. So we were friends, really good friends with like Clark Gillies, Bobby Nystrom, Mike Bossy, you know, like all of like the Stanley Cup guys, you know, and they used to just come into the club all the time. And Clark Gillies was so funny. He just passed away recently, but he was so funny. It would be like an audition night, and there'd be like 3 or 4 really bad audition guys in a row. And Clark Gillies would just walk up on stage, and when the guy was done, and just grab the microphone and go, "All right, let's get this party going. You gotta know when to hold up," and get the whole audience singing.
You know,
you gotta be cool to Joe, and you have to mention Phil Esposito. Come on.
I love Phil.
Listen to
Phil
this.
and Garbage Man. The Boston Bruins were my favorite team before there was an Islander team. I used to love Wayne Cashman, Phil Esposito.
I love them.
I know them all.
Pie McKenzie.
Bobby Orr. I mean,
So listen to this. I'm doing a show in Salisbury, New Hampshire, or is that Massachusetts? Anyway, Terry O'Reilly lives in the area, and Terry O'Reilly was a very famous
guy,
Boston Bruin. So he comes.
But he was he was the enforcer, right?
Yeah. He was big dude.
Yeah, big guy.
I'm hanging out with him at the end of the show, and I go, "Hey, man, did you ever have a fight after a game?" And he goes, "No." He goes, it was part of the game. It wasn't like we weren't mad at each other. He goes, "There's only one guy, this guy that played for Philadelphia, one of their enforcers, the guy with the big mustache."
Howard? No.
He said he always picked on people smaller than him.
Flett.
No.
Clark?
No. But anyway, he goes, "I had a fight before a game one." I go, "With who?" And he goes, "Derek Sanderson, who was his teammate."
Wow.
Right.
And I go, "Wow, you had a fight before the game?" And he's like, "Yeah," and we're laughing. So like a week later, I'm doing this golf tournament fundraiser with all the Bruins, and I'm hanging out with Lenny Clark and Dennis Leary, and I see Derek Sanderson sitting at a table. And I had met Derek. He's the greatest guy in the world. So I go over and I say to Lenny and Leary, I go, "You want to hear a funny story? Come with me." And I go up to Derek and I go, "Hey, Derek, is it true that you had a fight with Terry O'Reilly before a game once?" And he goes, "What the fuck did he tell you?" And I go, "Uh-oh." I go, "He didn't tell me anything. He just said that you guys had a fight." And I'm thinking, they're two teammates and they had a beef and they laugh about it now. And he goes, "No, Terry wasn't actually signed to the team yet. He asked me to pass him some pucks so he could shoot. And he kept breaking the sticks." And I said, "Hey, why don't you wait till you make the fucking team and maybe they'll give you some good sticks." And they go in the dressing room and Sanderson smoking a cigarette in the locker room rather. And Terry O'Reilly is sitting on the other side, and he's sitting next to Jerry Cheevers. And Cheevers asked Derek Sanderson to throw him his stick. So he throws the stick. Cheevers misses the stick, and O'Reilly had bare feet, and he had his feet on top of his skates. And the stick hit him in the foot, and he thought Derek threw the stick at him. So O'Reilly stands up. Derek flicks a fucking cigarette at him, and they get up and have a little bit of a scuffle, and they suspend Derek Sanderson. And there's some union rule that you can't stop someone from making a living. So he fucking signed with the Islanders or the Rangers. And it was the story of how he left the fucking Bruins.
Shit.
And Leary and Lenny look at me and go, "Yeah,
Nice story.
good fucking story, Joe." And I'm like, I didn't know. Yeah. And it was like the
Glenn
worst
Gary, Glenn
experience.
Ross. You never open your mouth until you know what the shot is.
All right, gentlemen. I think we are now over the limit.
It's a beautiful day in the
All right, well,
neighborhood.
let's have a round of applause for our guest today.
Thank you, Joe.
Give him a round of
Yay.
applause.
Hey,
And let's
your
have
cousin from Boston.
It was great fun, man.
And
Joe,
Mike
you come
Grief
back?
Yeah.
I'll come back anytime, man.
Awesome.
Right.
and Craig Mitchell. And I'm John
Thank you, guys.
Fergino. We wish everybody a happy, safe 4th of July. If you get a firework the size of a coconut, put it in the
There you
garbage
go.
can. You'll be better off.
It was supposed to be dropped from a plane.
Peace.
Anyway, so you can catch us on any podcast platform there is. That's the best way to say
Podcast
it,
Playground, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the good shit. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. All right.
Happy 4th, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Bye.